as we head to the sharp end of Season 7 of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. We head to the Netherlands and the beautiful coastline here at Zandvoort. It's Peter Mackay here on air on RaceSpotTV alongside Chaz Draycott, ready for another round of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. Chaz, very warm welcome to the show as always. What can we expect tonight?
We can expect a lot of sends, a lot of dives, and some very hefty braking zones. Zandvoort is not an easy circuit. I say that about almost every circuit we go to be fair, but the middle sector of this track is really going to catch some drivers out here because there's a lot of very flowing corners and you can take many different lines around them. So we're going to see a lot of switchback maneuvers, a lot of late dives down the inside, people parking it on the apex. There's going to be a lot of overtaking tonight, I reckon, and it's going to be an absolute blast on the Netherlands coastline.
Yep, looking forward to it here on this newly revamped Zandvoort circuit. Let's have a look then and see how the picture of the season has been so far. We've travelled to some of the biggest and best tracks all over the world, kicking off back at the Red Bull Ring in the middle of September. It seems like a lifetime ago, before heading through Hungaroring and then far east for an endurance round at Fuji. Then, well, the last two rounds of the championship, boy, have they been difficult for our drivers. The tight confines of Bathurst and the even tighter confines of the Detroit Street Circuit. Today, we go to Zandvoort, a proper Grade 1 FIA Grand Prix circuit, and then, well, two legends of endurance come up to finish the season. In 2 weeks' time, we go to Le Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans, and finish off just a few days before Christmas at Sebring in the United States. Well, this is how the points look at the moment, and boy is it tight at the top of the table. Christian Tsuruta, the defending champion, holds an advantage of just 12 points over Johnny Cullen. Then there's a little bit of a gap back, which has really been the story of the season. Tsuruta and Cullen operating in their own Premier League. But Austin Greatorex, don't write him off either. He sits in third. Johnny Elia is fourth, and Mark Baxter-Jones rounds out your top five, with James Cummings, Mark Johnson, Rob Sharp, Stuart Clark, and Oliver Carmodine making up an all-star list of drivers in the pro class. In the AM standings, well, it's Ryan Penny who leads the way after a fantastic start to the season and sits in a strong position, 5 points ahead of Gilles Gardner, who's also having a great time of it at the moment. Alistair Hatcher, a newcomer to the championship, sits in third, with regular Amrik Sashdev in fourth and Kim Such in fifth. Alex Owen, Josh Bailey, Mark Elvin, Christopher Hart and Andrew Soper, they round out your top 10 in the AM standings. So the drivers are out at the moment. They've taken part in their practice session and preparing for qualifying coming up very, very shortly indeed. Just 12 minutes remaining in this practice session, and James Cummings on top of the timesheets by 19 thousandths of a second. Christian Tsuruta right back in fourth.
Yeah, it's very busy out there at the moment with drivers just sort of getting those final bits of prep in, and this is really a place where you have to be on the ball and really sort of in tune with the conditions of the circuit as well, because they make a massive difference around here. Some of the longer sweeping corners, even some of the banked corners like we see James Cummings going around here, some of the hairpins, you know, they can sort of lure you into this false sense of security that you've got all the grip in the world because of that banking and that camber. It really helps the car rotate and turn. But so many times you will see drivers overdo it, end up going right to the rim of the bowl at the top of it, and then having to slam on the anchors and let the car drop back down to regain momentum. Car 2 is P2 at the moment as Rob Sharp goes fastest. Rob Sharp has been, well, right on time, you could say, with the branding of his machine. But I tell you what, Rob is certainly flying around here at the moment. It's lovely to see it. He's a great all-round top bloke, is Rob Sharp, and he's usually near the sharp end, without any pun intended. But I tell you what, he's right up there at the moment. It's great stuff to see.
Watching the pictures there of going through the beautiful contours of the Zandvoort circuit. The circuit here sits in a right along the coastline, not too far from Amsterdam, about 25 minutes drive from Amsterdam, but right on the coast, and it sits in these wonderful big sand dunes, and the circuit is basically cut into the natural confines of the sand dunes. Yes, they moved a little bit of earth for this refresh a few years ago in anticipation of Formula One returning, but this, for me, Chaz, the circuit still really maintains its old character, which I think is so important when you take a circuit under the knife.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's so many great circuits all around the world that have had a lot of updates and, you know, quality of life updates to them in terms of the facilities, the barriers, for the safety as well, so that racing can continue at them. And Zandvoort is one of those circuits that has had these updates but hasn't lost any character at all. We've got a number of circuits in the UK similar that really sort of hug the scenery that they're built around, like Alton Park and Brands Hatch. But while they've had bigger catch fences, they've had barriers moved back, they've had a lot of facility updates, they haven't lost the love of the drivers, or the love that the drivers give it, because it is such a thrill to drive. It's such a thrill to watch for us spectators as well. Zandvoort is an absolute pinnacle of how to update the circuit and not completely kill the place. It's a great racetrack, a real gem on any calendar, whether it be in the real world or sim racing. Cummings has gone back to the top here, Peter, and it seems him and Rob Sharp have found the secret around this place that none of the other guys can quite get right.
They're really enjoying their time in the Netherlands, aren't they? And Johnny Elia's had a great run the last few months. He had a win in the Porsche Sprint Challenge GB in their esports championship, and had a really strong performance last time out. And his mum, Anne Elia, is always watching the broadcasts as well. So hello, Mrs. Elia. Hope you're enjoying the coverage so far, and great to have your company as always. And why don't we have an on board with your boy, with Johnny? Take us round, Chaz.
So this is car 6, currently P6 at the moment, going into the Hugenholtzbocht and then over the little crest on the exit here, which is known as Hunzerug. And look at the way that the car behaves on the exit. Tries to sort of dance around on that curb, flat out all the way now through the S's. Such a fast-paced part of the circuit. Then the terrifying Shivlak, long sweeping right-hander. The car compresses and, well, over-rotates in some cases. And the back end, the sort of mid to rear-engined nature of this Porsche, giving a big pendulum effect there to Johnny Elia. And when you're on the brakes, Peter, you're going over a crest, you turn in as well, going through it, down through the gears. There's so much going on to upset the car there. And to be fair, saving Johnny his blushes, it's so easy to do that, isn't it?
Do you think he felt a bit of extra pressure knowing his mum was watching?
Yeah, most probably.
Tell you what, Chaz, when I was trying and failing, this is a bit of a therapy session here, because when I was trying and failing to become a professional golfer, occasionally my mum was very supportive, but occasionally she'd come to watch, and I was absolute rubbish every single time she came to watch. It wasn't her fault, of course, it was my fault, but yeah, so maybe Johnny suffers from the same thing. But yeah, anyway,
absolutely.
Possibly not, like you said, it's very tricky circuit here at Zandvoort. Kim Such in hoping to try and find his way up towards the sharper end in the AM class. He's been unlucky a few times, got involved in incidents not of his own making a few times. One Red Bull Ring certainly comes to mind, last corner as well for Kim. So yeah, not quite been his season yet, and goodness me, that banking is steep coming out of there.
It's crazy, isn't it? I was actually racing on a different sim at Simply Racing Milton Keynes recently on this exact circuit, and even then on another sim, you know, it really does beg a belief how steep it is. It's more than a lot of NASCAR banking on some of the sort of bigger ovals that you see. It's crazy, and to consider that Formula cars and GT cars head around there, the G-forces must be spectacular. And even here, look, at the Hugenholtzbocht, it's just a massive bowl that the car has to sort of grip to. It's like a Hot Wheels track, isn't it, now at Zandvoort? Quite fittingly, it'd be orange as well if it could be. But it's just such a roller coaster of a racetrack to watch. And usually, you know, when there's an update to a circuit that sort of smooths out all the sharp bits because Formula One cars can't do sharp corners anymore, it sort of ruins the flow of a track for me, and it takes away a bit of the challenge. But here, I think it's added one with the fact there's all the extra elevation for them to think about.
It's wonderful. I really like it, and I like the fact that they've named the corner after the circuit designer as well, Hans-Jan Hugenholtz, who designed Zolder and Suzuka as well. Oh, spinning in the background, is that Ryan Penny? Oh, I think he held on to it.
Yeah, I think he flicked it the other way and kept it out the wall somehow. Solid effort.
We have a new change, a livery. We've got Roxy, the dinosaur here, the pink dinosaur. Who's in the pink dinosaur car?
Yeah, I was just thinking
Rexy,
that.
which is the green one, and Roxy is the pink one. From AO Racing, a relatively new team in the United States, run by Gunnar Jeanette, owned by PJ Hyatt, a great Porsche team, great Porsche collector is PJ.
We need to find out, don't we?
That one, yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that would be. I know Drew Fletcher usually runs his Series 1 colours. I'm just looking down the order. Maybe Alistair Hatcher's running that livery. Maybe he's had a change for this one. He's had a similar-ish livery through a number of rounds before. He had didn't he just have a solid black car last time out at Detroit? Because I think we kept getting him confused with Mark Johnson, didn't we? I think in the later stages. They both had really dark coloured cars. Still, we'll find out one way or another. But we know that the Calippo is certainly not melting at the minute, as James Cummings is absolutely on it, isn't he? Great stuff.
Well, being beside the seaside, you've got to have a Calippo, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, that and one of the absolute delights that they have on the beach here beside Zandvoort, there's lots of these vans, like fast food vans, selling a type of fried fish called kibbeling, which is
you've mentioned this.
Delicious, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you ever go to Zandvoort, you got to make sure you get some kibbeling and some fries covered in an ungodly amount of mayonnaise.
See, I'm not a mayonnaise sort of person, though. That's the thing. I'm not sure if that's a compliment to it, though, but we'll see. I'd give it a go, definitely. I was hoping to do Clio Cup again, and they usually go to Zandvoort, and boy, they always have an exciting meeting here. Because, like I say, this circuit suits so many different types of race cars, whether it be Formula cars, whether it be GTs. I'd imagine that prototypes would be a riot round here as well, to be fair, especially with how flowing this track is now. You'd never overtake anybody, but it would be a bit of a riot to drive on one-lap pace, I'd say. But yeah, I think I'd say GT3 cars are the sort of perfect mix for it, because they're good at a bit of everything, aren't they, GT3 cars? You know, they can handle the slower corners. They've got the shorter wheelbase than a Formula 1 car, so that they can sort of linger in these hairpins and not look really too cumbersome. But they can also deal really well with the flowing sections of the track as well. And, I mean, they look and sound epic, as always.
I can imagine this is where the Formula 1 driver neck training comes in very handy.
God,
the lateral G-forces in some of the corners. The modern day F1 car, it does boggle the mind. And imagine they're not insignificant in a GT3 car nowadays as well, because the aerodynamic performance of these cars keep going and going and going. Their horsepower stays fairly steady. They've been around 500 horsepower for a long time, but it's the way that they develop the aerodynamics and the drivability, particularly of the cars. Just even how good the ABS system will be. You think how much the ABS will have come on in even 10, 15 years. It means that then you're putting more, the faster you're going, the more stress you're putting on the body.
Just a quick point as well, that Mark Johnson, who we see here, that was Danny Jones in the background, I think, hitting the wall there just ahead of Johnny Cullen. Mark Johnson, I mistaked for having a dark coloured car last time out, because in one of the other championships I've covered, Mark's had an almost completely black car for a lot of rounds. It was Andrew Soper that we kept getting confused with. Now he's gone off my screen. Alistair Hatcher in the previous round, but we'll still figure out who is driving Roxy for this round. I'm looking forward to that. And speaking of bonkers forms of motorsport around here, Peter, I'm circling back again now. I've stumbled upon myself. A friend of mine has raced a supercart around here at Zandvoort on the older layout. Now, you talk about neck training. I think you need your head tested, never mind your neck, to be racing a supercart around here. That's what, 0 to 16 3 seconds in a cart with no seatbelts and brakes that will go from 120 to 0 in 2 seconds. At Snetterton, at Coram, the second to last corner, long right-hander, they go flat out at 110 miles an hour in a supercart and pull 4G. So imagine it around here. It'd be absolutely... You've got to be off your tree anyway to race supercarts. But, yeah, I think that in any form it would just be a hell of a roller coaster, no matter what.
I'd love to have a go in one.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's a sedate speed. Wow. Yes, that does boggle the mind, doesn't it? Well, it's Austin. It's Austin Greatrex. Oh, the Brummy dinosaur. Here we go.
It's great. It's great here. I love it. By the beach.
He's gonna have us for that.
I'm sorry, Austin. I couldn't help it.
Please don't hurt us. So it's Austin who's gone for Roxy the dinosaur. Now, because the story behind Roxy and Rexy is that PJ Hyatt, the AO Racing's owner, his son wanted to have a car that he loved dinosaurs. So he said, well, I want to have, Dad, you need to paint your car like a dinosaur. So then thus Rexy was born. And the pink one is, you know what kids are like. One brother gets one, sister must get something as well. Yeah. So therefore Roxy, the pink dinosaur, was born. So there's the story behind that one as well. Brilliant Phenomenal stuff. Austin's had some great liveries, actually. This isn't us digging a hole now. It really actually has had some great liveries over the last
he absolutely has. Yeah, the thing is, you know, it's the sign of a real enthusiast, you know, the knowledge as well that these liveries have behind them. There's always a story with cars like that, and that's what I absolutely love about it. You know, it's not just done because it's something silly and a bit funny. There's always a good story behind it, and it's just, to be able to replicate that in the sim as well, where there's obviously a lot less of a logistical limitation to get it rewrapped between races, and, you know, less cost at the expense of the driver, then why not? You know, I actually, a few seasons ago in World GT, I think it was maybe season 4 or season 3, I actually, there was a rule put in place to stop me changing my livery every single round because I enjoyed doing it that much, but I used to annoy everybody with it. But I think it's nice to see special liveries per round. It's like what they do when they have the retro liveries in the Australian supercars, and they have the 4th of July liveries in NASCAR as well, which are always really cool to see. There's so many great sort of themes that you can apply to special liveries that I think it's nice that we can do it so easily and quickly in the sim.
If it weren't for cool liveries, there would not be a die-cast industry at all.
Yes, very true.
You know, if you go to like the petrol station at the Nürburgring, the model shop in there is off the scale. The one at Monza as well, and you could probably have 200 or 300 different Porsche 911 GT3Rs, all in different liveries.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's why they're so important. So, Absolutely. Up to the line then comes Byron Crawford this is the first out lap, and then coming into Tarzan Bend, well, you've really got to be quite brave on the brakes and then try and carry as much speed as possible through there, and then flat through the little kink at Gerlachbach, and then into the Bugenholz box where you haven't to really trust it through there, pushing the front out for Byron Crawford. Let's see what these first laps on the board are going to be.
It's great to have the gyro cam as well instead of the fixed roll bar cam, so you get the idea of how much the car is leaning one way than the other. I've been sort of naturally following it by tilting my head. I do quite a lot of flight sims and tend to tilt my head in the opposite direction, and this has got exactly that effect, although I'm now looking out the left window as Byron Crawford hits the curb too hard. And, well, it's not really a place where you think about the curbs, is it, to be fair, Peter? The older ones used to be a lot more fierce, but even still, you've got to have your wits about you on them here.
Byron just sitting and having a pause for a moment.
Mulling it over.
Maybe having a debrief with himself. Drew Fletcher, he's going to have a go and see if he can put together. I mean, one thing is, if the tyres aren't up to full temperature, you're asking so much of them here at the circuit. You're putting so much load through the tyres. Look at this corner here, this big, fast right-hander at the Shellblack. It's just putting so much stress through the tyres. So if you've not got the temperature there, you won't have the grip. No problem there for Drew Fletcher. Looking very smooth and tidy indeed. We got any times coming in yet? No, not quite yet. We do. Our first one. We've got Stuart Clark, number 23, first on the timesheets. 133.782. As they now start to come in now. With Stuart Clark was just over he was first on the board, but it's Stephen Kershaw who leads the way right now, 133.3. Rob Sharp in second, just missing out on provisional pole by 31 thousandths. For now, Johnny Elia 2/10 off the pace. Mark Johnson 4/10 off the pace in fourth, and Stuart Clark sitting in fifth at the moment. Fastest of the AM signified by the yellow number. Gilles Gardner right now in seventh overalls, but second quicker than his rival Mark Eldon. Let's see what Drew Fletcher can do. Is it going to count? Yes, it is. Second quickest in AM.
Absolutely. I'm going to keep my eye on Kim Such as well. It clearly wasn't a representative lap time by Kim, that first one, because he was 7.9 seconds off the pace, so clearly not up to his full potential yet. He was fastest in the AM class in practice as well, so he knows that he's got it in the bank. Just needs to be able to put it down when it matters. Ryan Penny goes fastest in the AM class now. 6th place overall for the current championship leader in the AM standings. Saruta comes here with a 8-point lead over Johnny Cullen. So, again, it could be one of those rounds where he just sits behind him while they're on the road. But we'll have to wait and see. Here is Stephen Kershaw now, just coming towards us into the final couple of corners. This is the Kumo right-hander. One corner I've never really got on with here, Peter. Well, 2 corners are box 9 and 10. Turns 9 and 10, basically. The right-hander into the long left hairpin. So difficult. And one of those corners that I mentioned at the top of the broadcast where there's multiple lines around them. You have to really be on your wits, or have your wits about you, to keep an eye on where other drivers are around you when you're there. And look at that, 9 thousandths of a second between the top 2 right now. Rob Sharp has improved on his time, but still just not enough to beat Kershaw. And here comes Chris Akabusi Byram.
Yeah, very colourfully painted car as always for Chris Byram. Looks like the inside of a certain style of Amsterdam cafe. I've been told as they come up to the start-finish line now. Chris Byram in 13th overall at the moment, goes to 10th overall, 1.2 seconds off the pace. And yeah, very tight at the top, but we still haven't seen lap times yet from Christian Saruta or indeed Johnny Cullen, and we've seen in the last few races at least Christian Saruta leave his qualifying run till very late in the session. He likes to keep us on our tenter hooks. Let's see what the Haribo Bear can do. Danny Jones coming around the fast final corner, keeping it nice and low down on the banking there, and catapults out onto the front straight.
Yeah, it's a fantastic feeling, isn't it, coming out of that final corner and throwing yourself down the start-finish straight. And Danny Jones goes up into 7th place. And, well, kids and grown-ups don't love that, so I'm sure he'll want an improvement from that lap time with his shiny gold wheels, like gold bears. Rob Sharp does go to the top now, but it's still a tiny margin, 28 thousandths of a second. Rob Sharp is now ahead of Stephen Kershaw, so he's eked it out only just. But I tell you what, you'd be kind of frustrated, wouldn't you, really, to have put 3 belting laps in and only be that much ahead, because it is so close here. It's not even like it's a particularly short lap, is it? We'd expect to see tiny gaps like that when it's maybe like 1 minute 15, 1 minute 20, but it's another sort of 15 or so seconds on top of that. So isn't the shortest lap on the calendar, but it certainly feels like a long lap round here, I reckon, when you're at speed, because you've got to concentrate for so long. As Kim Such, only now 32 thousandths of a second off, and pole position as well. Boy, it's close here.
Super tight, super tight. Yeah, I would think Stephen Kershaw will be, if he's got anything left in the tank, he'll be desperate to try and find that slither of lap time to get past Rob Sharp, get into that provisional.
He's already done
position. He's all done. So that's see if it comes up agonisingly short. I do wonder if once we see Cullen and Saruta and indeed Greatorex put their laps in, that they might go ahead of that number. Let's see. Ryan Penny, let's see what he can do now. Your AM Championship leader, don't forget, into the pits he goes. So he will... I know, I thought he was going to go into the pits.
Yeah, I thought so too.
He was threatening it there, but he's improved his lap time, goes up to 7th overall, leader in the AM class. Another great performance so far from Ryan Penny.
And that's important because it puts 2 of the pro drivers between himself and Kim Such as well, his nearest rival in the AMs for this first race of the evening. So for anyone that's not seen the championship before, the 2 classes don't get separated on the grid. They will all line up as you see them there. So the pro drivers will be amongst the AMs. Here's Peter Brill having a bit of a struggle through turns 9 and 10. The car sort of half stepping away from him. GT3 car traction control can be a bit of a nightmare sometimes, where it sort of half saves the car, but you feel like you lose all control over what the rear end is doing. Oh, he was on the throttle way too early there. You could see it even halfway around the corner, just the way he got on the power. And it was just understeering and understeering and understeering. Through Kumo he goes, and I think the car's damaged because he runs wide. As look at that, Peter, right to the top goes our mate Austin.
So yeah, Austin Greatorex and Roxy the Dinosaur up into pole position for now then, 133.144. What can Amit Sastev do? He really needs a big round. He's missed some races, so He's got to try and get a big score on the board here tonight here at Zandvoort. Let's see. Oh, that's a little bit wide. That might well get a lap deleted for that. Sits in 15th overall right now. Does Sash Dev, sitting 5th in class right now. Up to the line he goes. Does he improve?
I think he did.
No, he does not. So we're starting a little bit deeper in the pack then for Amrik Sashdev.
Yeah, shame that for Amrik, because he wasn't far off either. He was only a 10th of a second or so off his best as Alex Owen, and nearly ends up on the beach there as he runs a little bit wide out of Hugenholtzbocht over the crest at Hunzerug. And now look at this. I love watching these cars scream their way through the S's down towards Shivlak. Back end tries to step out slightly. Alex has to change down a gear just to stabilise the car. Sits on the rev limiter for a second before he gets into Mastersbocht and then into Bocht 9. It looks like it's just a 90-degree right-hander, but it's effectively a hairpin, is Bocht 9, because you do end up coming back on yourself here for Bocht 10, turn 10. And look, he's in the middle of the road, and it's hard to know where to go at that corner because the apex is so long, but it's so wide as well. It feels like you're going way too late if you take a late apex, and it feels like you're way too early if you take an early one. So it's all a corner and a circuit about mind games this. He turns in very early to the chicane though. Nearly goes straight on, manages to collect it. But again, look, you can see that even the camber is actually catching a lot of drivers out here, I think, Peter, because people are throwing the car in, knowing what the grip level is, and that added camber is sort of clinging them to the apex more than they wanted.
Yeah, this isn't not the cleanest lap there for Alex Owen. I think maybe just on an in-lap by the looks of things. So he'll start no better than 20th. Here's Austin Greatorex. Then he's been bumped down by, goodness gracious, by half a second.
Oh my goodness.
How
did I miss that?
Out the box by Christian Saruta. And, well, Greatorex, he's got quite a bit of time to find here. Let's see if he can, though, in the AO Racing liveried machine. A fantastic... as you can imagine, a team that builds paints its car like dinosaurs. They've got a great PR operation. It's a lady called Kelly Bruley who does the PR for many sports car teams, but particularly for AO Racing. And they even have dinosaur costumes which they like walk around the paddock in. And when they were at Le Mans this year, there's a great picture of Kelly in the dinosaur suit behind Charles Leclerc with 12 very angry looking French bodyguards. Called the dinosaur.
I like that a lot. That's the thing, you've got to have a laugh with it, haven't you?
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Exactly. James Cummings up to second, so Greatorex bumped off the front row, and that's all she wrote for Greatorex then.
He improved then as well on that final lap, a 33.080, but not improving enough to stay up there. So it's cars 1 and 2, P1 and 2, although I say that, and well, speak of the devil, Johnny Cullen next up, and now goes into second position in car 666, and he is just under a 10th of a second behind Zaruta. So they waited until the later stages of the session, Peter, as they usually do, and they have shattered the morale, you could say, and knocked Cummings, Greatorex and Sharp down a few pegs. But this has been a really inspired performance so far this evening by James Cummings. We know he's fast. We know he's very, very fast. He did really well in the GT4s as well. But James is certainly on fire again this season. He was, I think, previously one of our most improved drivers, wasn't he, when we gave somebody the award at the end of a season? But he continues to improve beyond that as well. It's great to see it.
He's driving really, really well. Let's see what he can do here. He can go into the pit lane as well.
That's not the ideal line.
Yeah, he's like, my clippers are melting. The clippers are melting in the hospitality unit. I've got to get back in. So it's a showdown then between Saruta and Cullen. They've left their run very, very late in the session. So Saruta at the moment has the edge by 95 thousandths of a second. But Cullen, he needs to land a decisive blow, a mental blow here to Saruta. He's got to get this on pole. Really important lap. Well, as he comes around the final corner, heading up towards the line, the checkered flag will be in the air. Let's see what this lap time is going to be. Is it good enough for pole? Yes, it is. Johnny Cullen goes to the pole. 132.447 then. Goes ahead of Saruta by 0.168 of a second. But Saruta will get a right of reply.
He absolutely will. And looking at the delta as well, Tsuruta's between 2 and 3 tenths quicker, and that is going to be enough. It's just gone up to 3 tenths quicker in the later stage of the lap. I think he's going to just have enough to take that pole position back. And the reigning champion does it by 35 thousandths of a second. That is mighty, mighty close. Both of them at one point were 4 tenths up each. And Tsuruta lost a lot of that in the middle sector, then gained it back again in the final sector. I was staring at the little squares that we have on our timing screen that tell us their delta. And that is just epically close. Half a second ahead of the rest of the field, though, those two, Peter. Wow.
Isn't that so typical of this season, Chaz? We've had Tsuruta and Cullen separated by, whiskers, and then a little bit of a gap back to everybody else. So it's no disrespect to everyone else. It's just Cullen and Tsuruta have been on that higher level all season long. So this is how they roll off then for race 1 of the day. Christian Tsuruta and Johnny Cullen on your front row. Then it's James Cummings and Austin Greatorex. Rob Sharp and Stephen Kershaw, they start on row 3. Row 4 is Mark Johnson and Stuart Clark. Then Johnny Elia and Paul Goffin. With Ryan Penny, your pole sitter in AM, alongside Danny Jones. Then on row 7, it's Oliver Carbadine alongside Kim Such. Then Alistair Hatcher and Gilles Gardner with Chris Byram. Difficult qualifying for Chris alongside Amrit Sashdev. On row 9, then it's Drew Fletcher and Christopher Hart, followed by Mark Elvin, Alex Owen, Andrew Soper, and Peter Brill round out the top 24 cars. So a standing start for the run down towards Tarzan Bend, turn 1 here at Zandvoort. Who is going to get that right? Well, it was an amazing last lap dash there for Christian Tsuruta. He loves leaving it to the last minute. He loves building the suspense, ever the entertainer. But it will start from the outside line, so if he gets this start even so slightly wrong, Cullen will be there to pounce up the inside. So it's not all done yet to see who comes out of turn 1 ahead, waiting for Austin Greatorex and for Christian Tsuruta now before we go racing. 15 minutes the distance here for our sprint race, and then a 25-minute feature race. Coming up after that, the starters' orders are given, ready for the lights to go out for the 8th round of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. Let's go racing. Oh, a little bit of a tangle in the background, but Christian Tsuruta's got the perfect getaway from the front of the grid. He leads then with Cullen there in second, as James Cummings going to try and hook it around the outside and try and get the inside for the right-hander, but doesn't quite do it. It's Austin Greatorex who holds his 3rd position then in at the pink Roxy the Dinosaur car. So it's Tsuruta from Cullen, from Greatorex, your top 3. Meanwhile, the rest of the field, they're all going 2 by 2 through the Hugenhole spot.
Yeah, that was very, very tight there. That was Kim Such that we were looking at in car 44. Just ahead of him was Alistair Hatcher in that very bright and colourful machine. And then, well, speaking of bright and colourful, Chris Byram's just gone by. There's a bit of netcode, and Chris Byram's been tangled, and Kim Such is in with him as well. Oh, the two of them made the tiniest bit of contact. The field behind doing a good job of slowing down in most cases. I think Drew Fletcher got caught out slightly there. How both of them have carried on, I don't know, but Kim Such's car is damaged. Kim Such's car has been given a massive knock against the barrier and it's wiggling around. He needs to be very careful that it doesn't overstep the markers. Whoa, speaking of Mark Elvin throws it at the inside of Drew Fletcher there, I think it was. Wow, it was very, very messy though, but I mean, I'm amazed there wasn't a bigger accident there, Peter. There was a tiny bit of netcode as they went over the crest. The two cars didn't actually touch, but obviously the sim calculated that they had. And it's a real shame to see it go that way, but I think they survived well as Fletcher throws it up the inside of Sashdev.
Yeah, Such has just got to try and drag the car back to the pits. Oh, spin in the background. I think that might have been Alex Owen in the Targa Florio JW engineering car. Oh, dear. But, yeah, Such has just got to try and get the car back to the pits and take his fast repair, stay in the race. Could be a race of attrition. Certainly this opening lap, it's been difficult, so this is what happened. Yeah, well, there's quite a bit of contact there between Such and Byram. Not a great deal Byram could have done there, and great awareness from the rest of the drivers who avoided the spins ahead. And well, after all that, Such's car looked like it would be more at home just about 600 or 700 meters away on the beach with the other crabs.
Yeah, absolutely. He'll reserve him a sunbed, I know that much. But yeah, that was a very, very rough moment But hats off to those behind for not getting too heavily involved. Now, this is Oliver Carwadine trying to hold off Danny Jones. Danny looking very racy in the opening sector here to try and make a move. We know that Danny has front-running pace, but that qualifying session really didn't go his way. Difficult to sort of tie together a perfectly clean lap around this place. But look, here's those different lines I was talking about. Danny opens up turn 10 and gives himself the inside line by running wide out of turn 9. And then he's got the inside line on the exit because he's hung it tight. But Carwadine, using the wider line, carries more speed off the corner down towards the Hans Ernst box, the chicane. So this is a battle of the different racing lines here between these guys. Both have their pros and cons. It's all down to driving style and how you make it work for you.
That's what I love about it as well, and it opens up opportunities for little dive bomb maneuvers as well to make things happen. Oh my word, who is that coming from downtown Amsterdam?
That's Soper Car 72, it is, isn't it?
Lord, that was ambitious in the extreme there, and poor old Alex Owen, minding his own business, gets T-boned there. Dear me. And then meanwhile, back at turn 1, Carwadine still having to fight to keep the Haribo Bear at bay. I have to say, I like that, Chaz. The gold bear wheels. That's the official colour chart there for Danny's wheels.
Absolutely, yeah. I love it. It's such a great thing that Danny's kept this livery and this theme going, no matter what car he's in as well. He's really made it work. And it's obviously very similar to the livery that I think it was on an old, I don't mean to swear in the broadcast, it was on a Mercedes AMG GT3 at the Nürburgring, I think, at one point.
It was on a Porsche before that.
It was, wasn't it? Yes, it was a Manti.
They made Olaf Manti Haribo Bears. They made special edition.
No.
Bears. Yes.
I did not know that. That's absolutely awesome. My only knowledge of it was the Mercedes, because I'd seen it in the Nürburgring Museum earlier on this year. And it's so cool to see that on a real car. I actually had a bit of a moment. I walked up to it and I was like, oh, it's Danny Jones. Thinking, oh, what's he doing here? Still, we've got a good little scrap going on here. Stuart Clark ahead of Johnny Elia and ahead of Mark Johnson. All white and red car enthusiasts by the look of it. Obviously, the Brumos colours on Johnson's car looking resplendent in the sunshine here at Zandvoort. Great angle there, showing you just how steep the banking is around the final corner. It looks like Elia is a bit closer to Clark than Johnson is to Elia. Johnny into the slipstream as they head down towards turn 1. Is he going to fully go for the inside, or is he going to try and hang it around the outside? He looks to the wide line, then cuts across. Whoa, that was very, very feisty there. Flipping heck, it's like he wanted to take the front left off it. Somehow they survived that. Peter's eyebrows have hit the roof, and I mean, wow. That was, I don't know what he was doing.
Johnny's feeling pretty, like you say, feisty. I think it's exactly the right word there from Johnny Elia. He wants past Stuart Clark, but Clark is trying to place that rusty roast machine exactly in the line where he can keep Elia at bay. And Johnson's fancies a little, he's got a little sniff of action here as well. He's thinking, maybe I can profit here from a bit of disagreement between Elia and Clark, but this is what we promised you folks. This is what Zandvoort delivers. It's a unique type of circuit, and it throws up unique class of racing. And oh, that's a bit of a block there from Clark. That was a very, very late shut of the door, and Elia gives him a tap for his trouble. And Johnson, here comes Johnson then up the inside in the Brumos car. Has he got enough of an overlap to make a move? Yes, he does. So Elia, you'll be furious. He nearly had the move done there on Clark, and that lost his momentum. Clark escapes, Johnson gets through. Elia's lost 2 places in effect.
Yeah, the hunter became the hunted very, very quickly there, and it gives Stuart Clark that very cherished moment to just breathe for a second, I guess, focus on his own lap times for just a sec, and let these guys, hopefully for his sake, scrap behind him, because if they continue to fight, and he's going to be able to stay in front with a lot more ease. As down the inside goes Elia, makes his intentions clear. Johnson makes his clear as well and says, nope, no room there, sunshine. Still, they just about make it through. He gave him only the minimal amount of room. I think Johnson's gone a bit deep. No, he's managed to save it there. He's down the inside now. Watch this as they go through the left-hander. Johnson, well, didn't leave enough room on the exit, but Johnny didn't back out of that one, and Johnson is now facing the wrong way and in the barrier. I think Elia has slowed down for him, but it makes very little odds right now with unfortunate contact there. I think Johnny tried to get on the power as early as possible, expecting Mark to still know he was there, but that was 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, Peter. Let's have a look.
Okay, this is a very good angle for it. It's it's difficult one. It's hard to apportion any particular blame. I do think Johnson put himself in danger there. He put himself in that situation, which increased the risk of him getting, quarter paneled effectively. So if you don't want to get quarter paneled, don't put your quarter panel up to the nose of somebody else's car, and because there wasn't a really great other places that Ilya was going to go. You're right, Chaz. He did not lift out, but nor did he really have any
obligation
to obligation. That's right.
Yeah.
So although a pity. I mean, you got to think that Johnny Ilya is absolutely fizzing at the wheel of that car right now. He's clearly got good pace, but it's just he's not getting the rubs so far.
No, absolutely not. And that's the thing, you can be in a lot of different situations in a race, still have a clean race and it not really go your way. But here, Johnny Ely is having a bit of everything thrown at him. He had a great battle with Stuart Clark. He lost out and then got overtaken. That would have riled him up more. And then he was obviously trying everything he could to get past Johnson. And that squeeze is what caused the incident. Luckily, they've both managed to carry on, I believe, although Johnson is showing he's in 18th place now after having to recover. But they both continue on. He's actually there on screen. I do apologise. Just behind Byron Crawford, who did start at the back of the pack, actually. I don't think Byron got a particularly quick, valid lap time in, so he's had to sort of recover from the back end of the field. And he's now finding himself only up to 17th position, but with the reverse grid, that'll obviously help him out. He just needs to manage to stay up there when that comes around. 6 minutes left. It's still Saruta leading Cullen by 0.7 of a second. Then Austin Greatorex a few seconds back, with James Cummings in 4th and Stephen Kershaw holding on to 5th place at the moment. Ryan Penny, he's having a great time at the head of the Anfield at the moment, isn't he, Peter? This is exactly what he needs. Just points for his championship. He doesn't need to cause any dramas or have anything overly exciting go on as long as he wins his class.
Oh, he's in prime position right now. He's got 6 second gap back to Alistair Hatcher, but he's also got 3 pro cars offering rear gunner services, so he's got protection there as well as Ryan Penny. So just got to get through these last 5.5 minutes. Again, akin to what we saw in qualifying, Saruta and Cullen on the last lap separated by 400ths of a second, and then 0.7 of a second back to the next fastest, which is Greatorex in 3rd. So that tells you really the story of the season. It's been Saruta versus Cullen in their own Premier League all season long, but what a tight Premier League it's been between them. And a lot of the time it's been fairly even on who wins race 1. The difference that's between them in points right now, that's come down to the race 2 performances, which in general have gone Saruta's way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about knowing where to pick your battles in these second races. Obviously, it's paramount importance that you get through the pack, but there have been moments, I mean, we saw it at Detroit as well, where Johnny Cullen was very, very pushy to try and get through, and he was really trying everything. With each individual moment had to be an overtake for him, and he just overdid it in the end, unfortunately, and ended up having an incident. And it's just having that extra bit of patience, isn't it? Being able to know when to reel yourself in a little bit. That's what makes a very, very solid run through in these second races. Remember our King Hippo double champion Ryan Parkins way back when in 2020. The way he won that championship was because of race 2, the reverse grid. He'd win race 1, and then he would be so elegant in making his way through the pack in those second races without any contact, without any incidents. He was the master of that, wasn't he? And I think a lot of the drivers still remember that now.
I do think that Saruta's maybe got it a little bit easier coming through the pack, because let's be honest, nobody wants to make contact with somebody else's bogey. So maybe that's why they go, oh, bogey, oh, and they just jump out the way and through he goes. I jest. You can certainly see him coming, that's for sure. I mean, speaking to Porsche legend Kevin Estra, he said if you're in the Manti car at the Nürburgring, if you're in the Grello, it's got presence, and if you come up behind somebody and they see the Manti car, they know that it's the full GT3, the full factory driver on board, and they give you a bit more room. So perhaps the Flying Bogey is the Manti Grello of Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing. Maybe it's a Grello Bogey.
You never know. Depends how much radiation he's been there, I think, if that's the case. Look at Johnny Elia here. He's trying everything to look down the inside of Danny Jones wherever he can. corner after corner, and it's just not working for him yet. He's just outside of the top 10, trying to exercise patience, but also get on with it as quickly as possible at the same time. It's not an easy mix to pull off. But Johnny is a very quick driver indeed. Obviously, he's been racing for real as well. The 11th 10th team have been racing in the Enduro Car Series with 4KAs all over the UK in 2023. Look at the banking here around the final corner. I can't get over it. I absolutely love that shot of them coming around the final corner and then screaming past us down the start-finish line. These 992 GT3Rs really are a spectacle to watch. And Johnny Elia, look, tries that outside line again. Oh, goodness me, he might make that work. No, it's the second phase of the corner, isn't it, where it really just falls apart there. You have to be so on it.
Yeah, it's Johnny. Johnny's he's in a rush, isn't he? He's just like, I've got places to be. Get out my way. Is Elia's just not quite gone his way? It means that if he finishes where he is, he'll start sort of roughly where he's finishing, sort of midway through, but just outside the top 10. So because we have a 20-car reverse grid from the results of race 1 to set the grid for race 2. So Saruta starts in 20th, Cullen 19th, Greatorex 18th, and so on. And if you finish outside of the top 20, then you start where you finished race 1. So that was, of course, what happened to Elia last round, was that he didn't have a very good race 1, got a good grid position for race 2 and made up for it there and then. Well, the white flag is being prepared at the flag stand then, so 1 lap to go here in the first race of the day, and Cullen, tell you what, Cullen's brought the gap down. It was up to as high as 0.7 of a second. Now, well, you don't need a timing screen for that. It's down to nothing. So all of a sudden, Johnny Cullen is all over the back of the defending champion Christian Saruta, and what a scalp this would be. Is they both drive it in hard into the Hugenholt spot, and I tell you what, Chaz, Cullen's getting close.
Absolutely is, and he's looking racy as well. It's not looking like a sort of a chilled approach to the back of Saruta's car. He's moving around, he's filling the mirrors, he's certainly putting the pressure on instantly here. He's not sitting behind him and trying to wait for an opportunity. He's trying to force the issue, and this is exactly what Cullen needs to do. He needs to get in Saruta's head, because this can last not just for the rest of the evening, but the rest of the championship. If he can do him over on merit and on the circuit, then it will sit in the mind of Saruta, and he's the one that's looking in his mirrors. He's the one that's looking back behind him, because he leads the championship. He leads the race, and Cullen's just got to throw everything at this now. A few corners to go, and this is going to be mighty close, this, I reckon, as long as Cullen gets a decent run.
Well, let's see then, as they come through the chicane at 9 and 10, then it's Saruta who holds the advantage for now. Cullen's got very, very close indeed here, but I think if Saruta can just make his way clean around this final bank corner on the power then and catapult onto the straight, he's flashing the headlights. He knows he can see the checkered flag. There it is. Christian Saruta wins again in the Porsche Club of Great Britain, with Johnny Cullen right in his wheel tracks, and we've got a further 5 and a bit seconds until Groston Greatorex comes home with a solid podium once again, just a couple of seconds ahead of James Cummings, and Stephen Kershaw is going to come home in 5th. In well, it's another win for Ryan Penny, your championship leader in class, and he is going to extend his advantage over his championship rival Gilles Gardner. Fantastic stuff from Ryan Penny.
That's exactly what Ryan needed to do. Like I say, no news was good news there for Ryan. He didn't get himself in any fights. He didn't get himself in any unnecessary drama. He just scored the points, and that's made his job easier in race 2 as well, because he's already banked these points tonight. Even if one of the drivers in class just finishes 1 or 2 places ahead of him, he's not got a massive stress over that, because he's already outscored them enough in that first race. So very well done, Ryan Penny. Also, great drive by Saruta and Cullen.
Yeah, superb stuff at the front of the field, but it's Saruta who gets that scalp and gets the first bit of points on the board there in that championship chase by just 0.4 of a second. Greatorex home in 3rd. James Cummings was 4th. And then it was Stephen Kershaw rounding out the top 5. Rob Sharp was 6th, then Stuart Clark, Oliver Carradine and Johnny Elia. And then 10th overall, top of the AM class, it's Ryan Penny who extends his advantage at the top of the standings in class there. Danny Jones in the Haribo machine was 11th. Alistair Hatcher continues his strong debut season in the championship he actually will move up very close to second position in the championship with Gilles Gardner after that performance. Paul Goffin was 13th, then Gilles Gardner 3rd in class in AM, 14th overall, then Amric Sachdev, Drew Fletcher, Byron Crawford, Mark Johnson, Christopher Hahn and Alex Owen round out the top 20. Then it's Peter Brill, Andrew Soper, Kim Such and Mark Elvin, with Chris Byram not getting home on the lead lap. So the drivers have a brief opportunity to get out and have a little practice before we go into our 25-minute feature race. Remember, a 20 car reverse grid, and this is where it's going to get very interesting. We saw quite a bit of interesting overtakes there, Chaz, but with the reverse grid, this could be fun.
Well, I did say there was going to be some big sends in there, and there certainly were people diving down the inside and slamming it in on the brakes, wasn't there? But that's the thing, you have to push and force the issue around a circuit like Zandvoort. Drivers will make mistakes around you, and it's easy to sort of fill the mirrors and, you know, try and put them off, as we saw Johnny Cullen trying to do in that last lap there. But at the same time, you have to force the issue just as much. There's no overtakes here, really, without any sort of compromise. And I think a lot of the drivers know that. And it's just always making for exciting racing, especially in these big cars as well. These 992 GT3Rs are wide machines, so you need a hell of a gap to get down the inside, don't you?
You do. Yeah, that is one thing for sure. And of course, braking wise, it's tricky as well with the anti-lock braking system. You just ram the brake on as hard as you possibly can, and it's a little bit different with the RSR last season, where you could be gentle on the brakes, but you don't get the ultimate force. But if you were, too forceful on the brakes, you lock up. So there was quite a bit more variation there in the braking distances. So that does make things a little bit more tricky to get those overtakes done. But let's see. But for Johnny Cullen, that championship is just starting to slip a little bit. It's not lost his grip yet at all, but you can feel that rope slipping through his fingers a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were saying at Detroit that he needs to. He's got this sort of. I don't want to say pushy. It's not a pushy driving style, but you know what I mean. He's the driver that will go for the moves. He's the one that will sort of act like there's nothing to lose and just throw it forward in the pack. He won't wait for an opportunity. He'll make an opportunity no matter what circuit we're at. He has to even turn that up even more now, I think, because he has to prove the point that he's not here to muck around and sort of sit behind Saruta all the time. We know that he's capable of beating Christian on certain days. His pace is absolutely amazing, as we've seen, but just in the races, it's just not coming to him yet. So I think this second race is going to be a vital one, because there's 2 race meetings left after this in the championship. If he can put some form of dominance on in the last sprint race of the season, it'll certainly live in the head of Saruta, at least for the next 2 endurance races to complete the championship.
That is an excellent point. That the format that's, I'd say, suited Saruta quite well over that, like you say, that aggression, that decisiveness in traffic, that changes when we go to an endurance race. Endurance race, a little bit more tactical, a little bit more about drilling out that same lap time over and over and over again, and making sure you execute the whole race. Is that give Cullen a little bit of hope for the last 2 rounds?
I reckon so. He's always been good at being consistent. He's rapid, but he's also good at holding it consistently as well, as long as he doesn't have to get in a battle with somebody, because that's, I think, where the downfall comes in, unfortunately, is he will push it a bit too hard and compromise himself in the bigger picture, regardless of how long the race is. I'm not saying that he doesn't know that, but, he's just one of those drivers that will attack a bit more than maybe he needs to at certain times. So I think as long as he's got clear air and it's only Saruta that he's fighting, I think that it will definitely be advantage Cullen when it comes to the endurance races, but we'll have to wait and see, I suppose, because Saruta has improved so much, even from last season when he won the championship the first time. It's going to be so difficult to beat him, but I'm all for it. It's been an epic championship battle so far. There's only a few points between them. 8 points coming here? Long may that continue, because we're certainly going to have a nail-biting finish, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's going to be tight. That's for sure. We'll just under 30 seconds left in warm-up before we tick over to our feature race for the day here in Season 7 of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. I believe I said Season 8 earlier on at the big start of that race. I get ahead of myself. I
still can't believe it's 7 though.
I know, it's got away from us since we kicked off in the early part of 2020. So thank you so much for joining us here on RaceSpotTV for this round here at Zandvoort. Remember, 2 more to go. We go to Sebring at the end of the season, but Le Mans in 2 weeks' time. Looking forward to that one. We'll have all the action for you. So the cars will be ready to grid up in just a moment, with Christian Tsuruta, your winner from race 1, starting back in 20th alongside his championship rival Johnny Cullen. But it's Peter Brill and Christopher Hart who start on the front row. Mark Johnson and Byron Crawford are on row 2. Then it's Drew Fletcher and Amrik Sashdev. Starting on the 4th row of the grid is Gilles Gardner and Paul Goffin. Then it's Alistair Hatcher and Danny Jones, with Ryan Penny and Johnny Elia on row 6. Row 7 is Oliver Carradine and Stuart Clark. Then it's Rob Sharp, Stephen Kershaw, James Cummings and Austin Greatorex. Johnny Cullen and Christian Tsuruta are your 10th row. Then it's Alex Owen, Andrew Soper, Kim Such and Mark Elvin in the Kentucky Fried Chicane Machine, with Chris Byram. Difficult race one for him, starting all the way back in 25th. Well, the drivers are eager to get going. They're all there, ready to go. Starters orders being given. The revs begin to rise, ready for 25 minutes of racing here at Zandvoort. Green flag in the air. Let's go racing in the Netherlands. Down towards turn 1 they go. It's an okay start there from Peter Brill, but here comes Christopher Hart in the yellow and green machine, and then, whoa, car number 12 there, Byron Crawford.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's all arms and elbows at turn 1.
That's Drew Fletcher, car number 27, that is around. He's completely backwards and losing time and places. Mark Johnson's gone through. Christopher Hart's gone straight on into the Hugenholtz box for the first time. Peter Brill's actually held on to the lead here. Sounded like there was a bit of a drama there. Tsuruta's lost a place, and Cullen's just got back past him. Now Tsuruta's got back past him. Those two are swapping. In the background is no sideways. That's Amrik Sashdev. He's into the wall and he's back across the circuit. And that's Paul Goffin involved. Oh no, they've gone back to the apex of the corner. Involved in that was Stuart Clark as well. I think Danny Jones is around. I'm amazed there weren't more cars involved in that there, Peter, because it seemed the accident naturally made its way to the apex of the corner.
Yeah, and that's a blind crest over there where you're really getting some speed on. So the drivers did a good job as James Cummings shuffling to get a move done on Cullen.
Byram, got turned left there. I think a lot of drivers were shuffling to avoid each other, and Byram had someone turn completely right hand down into him, and it's flung him over to the left-hand side. There was also a big move by Cummings down the inside of Cullen that caught him off guard, and there was contact between those two as well, so hopefully no damage there. But look at the timing sheet. Tsuruta up to 9th place, Cullen down in 15th.
Yeah, so Tsuruta once again, he's just so instinctive on these opening laps. Remember, Christian Tsuruta is real-life racing experience in Caterhams, and I don't think there's many other places where you can learn great racecraft than racing Caterhams. As we've already got a few takers coming into pit lane for repairs, Drew Fletcher and Johnny Elia as well. Tell you what, Zandvoort hasn't really been kind to Johnny, unfortunately.
And I do apologise as well. I said it was Drew Fletcher in the gravel earlier on. It wasn't. It was car 27, which is Gilles Gardner. Drew Fletcher is car 26. So Sashdev hits Fletcher, who hits Gardner. So the back end of the car flicked around and hit the rear of Gilles Gardner's car and sent him off into the gravel. So it was a bit of a 1-2-3 sort of incident there, a bit of a domino effect. Johnson now leads the race from Byron Crawford. We saw those two fighting together earlier on and did say that it would help them in the reverse grid race, but that's definitely an understatement now. This is Christopher Hart in 3rd position ahead of Peter Brill, and then Rob Sharp not too far behind, but then there's a bit more of a gap actually to Tsuruta and Greatorex, who are 6th and 7th. There's, oh dearie me, Christopher Hart just throws away the AM-class lead with the big spin out of box 9. He's got to wait a second for the field to go through now before getting going again. That's so easy to do again, though, isn't it, Peter? It's the pendulum effect of the rear end of this car.
Yeah, just on that, it's quite an aggressive weight transfer there, but Christopher Hart doing the right thing, letting the field come out and not pulling out in front of people. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen at very, very high level sim racing where you've just seen someone just flick it round and pull out in front of somebody, and that is pretty unceremonious there. Poor old Amri just getting drilled into the wall. Yeah, and that triggers off a multi-car pile up there. That was not good.
No, Drew Fletcher there making contact with the back of Amrik. I don't think he expected him to slow down that much as they went over the crest, but Amrik was just protecting his own backside and then got hit in said backside. And then Goffin and Danny Jones both tried to avoid the incident, bless them. Both ran a bit wide, and then Goffin just touched the grass that tiny bit, which put him sideways. And again, those guys were all just doing that within best interests there and ended up as part of the incident. Again, though, I must say, I'm very, very proud of the rest of the guys for not having that become a much bigger incident with a lot more cars involved. Everyone got on the brakes, kept it nice and tidy, and they didn't just fly in at full chat, as I'm sure, Peter, we've both seen in the past in sim racing. Yellow flags sometimes mean nothing.
Oh, I almost feel just pull up a gear and stay flat out. I seem to remember a race we called it Zolder, where it was just like, it was like a rugby scrum where they just all piled in. There's one after a ruck. That's more like, yeah, ruck. It was just like, oh, there's a 20-car pile up. Let's keep the foot.
Yeah.
Let's keep the foot down.
That looks fun.
That looks fun. Let's get involved in that. Yeah,
yeah, there absolutely was. It was. I remember the exact one. I just can't remember what series it was. I think it was Virtual Bell Car or something.
I can't think it. Well, being Zolder, that's a good chance it was Virtual Bell.
Yeah, very true.
Oh, Saruta, wow, what an opening sequence. So 3-4 laps into this race, and already up to 4th from 20th on the grid. But likewise, Austin Greatorex, he's come up from 18th on the grid to 5th. So that is just remarkable stuff from both Saruta and Greatorex. Cullen, he sits in 8th at the moment.
Greatorex.
Oh,
he's in the pits.
Oh.
I'm not sure that was commentator's curse there, Peter, so I'll let you off for that one.
Is it commentator's curse if the damage is already there?
No. He's had a drive-through.
Why would he have a drive-through?
I wonder if he made contact with somebody and then... Because there is a rule in the championship, isn't there, that if you do make contact, then you sort of punish yourself and take a drive-through, and then you're sort of acquitted of any blame, but...
That's only on lap 1, though.
Yeah. That's why I'm concerned that he's done it 4 laps in.
He's maybe had to have a moral argument with himself, and the angel beat the devil there and decided to take the drive-through. I don't know. Jump start?
Yeah, maybe.
Jump start could be one thing. I mean, he has gone up. He had gone up 13 places, so maybe it was a jump start. Anyway, well, I'm sure Austin will tell us. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in the chat soon. As he often does. So a bit of a challenge then for Austin to try and climb up the order, and that's really the last thing he needed. He was holding on to a slither of hope in the championship to try and catch Saruta and Cullen, but that is not going to help, that's for sure. In that little sequence though, Cullen has made his way up into 5th place, 1 position behind Saruta, but crucially 5 seconds behind Saruta at this stage.
Yeah, there's a bit of a strange sort of spread in the field where some of them are so close together in these little groups, and then a few other drivers are right in the middle of no man's land at this moment in time. Here's Johnny Cullen currently running in 5th place now. Hatcher has just got past Brill for the lead of the AM class, and Brill is dropping down the timing screen. He's just taking it easy, I think. Oh, Cummings on his right hand side there will be a little bit unimpressed with that one by Peter Brill, running very, very wide. He gets overtaken now by Stephen Kershaw, one of the series admins. He's going to turn around and go around the outside. Excuse me, gentlemen. Why does it suddenly look like night time at Zandvoort? It's gone very, very dark around that part of the circuit. I know the hills are steep, but flipping heck. Now, these guys need to be careful here behind Peter Brill. He's not as quick as these guys on paper, but this is the whole point of these reverse grid races. You've got to really show patience, haven't you, and pick your battles and know when to back out, and Peter Brill moves out of the way. That's fair of him. Very fair indeed. As maybe not enough. Flipping heck. Now the inside of Stephen Kershaw nearly clips the back of him through turn 10. I bet Stephen was probably making similar noises to me then, Peter.
Yeah, and Ryan Penny on the headlight flasher. Is he going to try and make a move here on Peter Brill? No, can't quite, but looking quite ominous with his pace there is Ryan Penny all over the back of Peter Brill. Meanwhile, James Cummings is got to the back of our AM class leader Alistair Hatcher in car 964, and Hatcher, if he could get an AM win in this race, that would make such a difference to his championship charge. That would move him past Joe Gardner into 2nd and close the gap down to Ryan Penny. Cummings goes by with ease, but Alistair Hatcher, his race is not with James Cummings. They are in 2 different classes and their points are awarded independently, so That might look like an overtake, but in essence means nothing for Alistair Hatcher. But it does mean something for James Cummings, because he can now focus his attention on the white and red rusty roast machine of Stuart Clark, who's there in 6th right now. Saruta, what a drive. He's now up into 3rd already. After 9 minutes of racing, he's climbed 17 positions. But the gap between Saruta and Cullen has reduced slightly. So Cullen is closing the gap in terms of time, at least.
Is Byron Crawford, 2nd place at the moment, car number 12. He's got a few seconds over Christian Saruta as well, but he's also 2.8 seconds off the race leader, Mark Johnson. Lovely shot of this from distance as the cars come around the final couple of corners. You can just see how it moves around on your screen. It's one of the reasons that iRacing broadcasts so well, is the fact that it's got what's known as camera dampening, where the car, if you look at it, is never perfectly in the middle of the shot. It doesn't just sit there like it does on ACC or an R Factor. It moves around in the frame like it's being operated by a human being. It's such a great effect that's so simple, but it just makes it look so realistic, and it's why we're grateful to broadcast iRacing to everybody who is watching. I was going to mention, by the way, that Alistair Hatcher also, while I'm getting picky about how it looks, he needs to put the right number boards on the car, because he's got these white number boards on it, so you can't see his car number. But you knew that was coming.
I could see your eyelash twitching. Your eyelid was twitching away like a rabbit's nose there.
It's not got the right windscreen banner either.
Pardon?
It's not got the right windscreen banner either.
That's unforgivable. Absolutely.
It is. It is, though. Yeah. In real motorsport, it would be. There's a decal there.
You wouldn't pass scrutineering. That's very true.
No, when very, very quick story time. Sorry, when a friend of mine was racing in the Mini Challenge JCWs a few years ago, when they were in the British GT Championship paddock with SRO, somebody protested him for not having a John Cooper Works sticker about the size of your thumb on the rear boot, and he got fined £750 for it. There you go.
I do have a response to that. Best not in a public forum.
Yep, we'll talk about that afterwards.
Yes.
There it is. Look, thanks, Hugo.
How much of your soul does that damage?
The fact that the Sim 3D logo, which is a good friend of mine, Calvin Dent, the Sim 3D logo is upside down on the rear windscreen banner as well. That really upsets me. So, yes, it upsets me a hell of a lot. And, I think I've just heard my soul leave the room. Either that or it was the cold draft. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, racing going on here. Cummings attacking Stuart Clark, two absolute stalwarts of this championship, Peter. And it makes me so happy to see them still racing together here on our screens, nearly 4 years after it all started.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? And Cummings, I think he's going to make a move here into Tarzan. He's certainly signalled his intent there by ducking to the inside. Clark just doesn't even flinch, just takes his normal braking point, normal line, holds on to the position. So Cummings is going to have to try a little bit harder on that one to get the move done here on Stuart Clark. Update on our championship contenders. Saruta still hanging on to 3rd. He's now right up behind Byron Crawford, though. Gap to Cullen in 5th in terms of time, fairly similar to what it was. So, but depends how long Saruta takes to get past Crawford. Byron Crawford could do Johnny Cullen a bit of a favour here by allowing Cullen to close the gap down as Saruta gets stuck behind him.
Yeah, this is the thing. This could swing in many different directions, this sort of battling, as Cummings now all over the back of Clark once again, this way and that way, trying these different lines through turns 9 and 10. Gets a very good run out of turn 10, but where's he going to go? That's the thing. You could be on the outside for the first part of the chicane, then the inside for the long left-hander, or vice versa. Get it sent down the inside early on. Stuart Clark's got to turn in at some point. Both of them have got to turn in at some point. Stephen Kershaw suddenly arrives on the scene, wondering what on earth is going on here. Now, Stephen Kershaw's let off for not having the windscreen banner on the car. He does have it, but the spec map of how shiny the car is what affects it and makes it look like it's not there. Anyway, it is now Cummings somehow still on the road. That was a scary old moment, that, wasn't it? As Cummings sent it down the inside, and look at that, instantly to the inside now. Clark defending.
It was always a very bold shout there from Cummings, and you could actually almost see him. Oh, there's the move round the outside. Can he make it stick, though? Can he make it stick as they go back to side by side? I think he can, you know. Stuart Clark, and yep, there goes Cummings. That is a great move around the outside there. He had to work hard for it, but he got the move done. Through he goes then. Cummings up into 6th place and heads off into the distance. Does seem that Cummings has got quite a bit more pace under the car. So what has he got? Well, it's quite a big gap up to Johnny Cullen. And goodness, that's costing quite dearly, his Cummings. It's, what are we, 9-10 seconds to catch back up to Cullen. So yeah, Cummings now just got to get into a rhythm. You never know what might come his way, but 6th place at the moment. Here comes Tsuruta. He's in his own little battle here, trying to get past Byron Crawford for 2nd place. And Tsuruta, he's certainly looming large in the mirrors there of Crawford's machine.
He knows as well that behind him, Cullen's got no easy task in getting past Rob Sharp. Rob is one of the fastest drivers in the series. Very under the radar is Rob, actually. But still, he's doing a good old job, and he's in a battle with Johnny Cullen just behind this. But Tsuruta doesn't need to take too many risks here. He doesn't need to overly do this here against Byron Crawford. But every single point matters, as we all know. He tries to go deep round the outside. It doesn't work for him there. He's going to go for the cutback on the exit, but no, does not work for him there either. He's going to be happy knowing that Cullen hasn't got past Sharp in the meantime. Into the Hugenholtz box they go. Very close to the back of Byron Crawford, but that's the sort of looming threat of that corner, isn't it, Peter? So many people take that line so differently through there. They brake earlier than others. You have to be really careful when you're chasing somebody, and you have to be so careful when you're side-by-side over here. Look at the respect in the room they're giving each other. Still side-by-side through Sheevlack, though. And I tell you what, hats off to Byron Crawford. That was as respectful as you like, but still great, rough defensive work, that.
And really, it's Tsuruta that's got it all to lose. He's got to be super careful. And yeah, moves that Tsuruta might have just gone for at the early part of the season, he's half baking them now, because he just cannot afford to get caught in a tangle and have it all drop away. And look who's on his way, Johnny Cullen in 4th position. He's got his way past Rob Sharp, and Crawford is defending with every bit that he's got, fighting like a lion here to keep Tsuruta at bay, and he's doing so beautifully. And there are parts of this Zandvoort circuit where you don't necessarily have to have the outright lap pace. As long as you park the car in the right place, you cannot get a move done. So Tsuruta will be getting frustrated, I'm sure, particularly knowing Mark Johnson is up the road to the tune of 7 seconds. So, and with only 9 minutes left on the clock, it's going to be very difficult for Tsuruta, even if he does get past, to try and win the race. But Crawford, Tsuruta side by side again, and Tsuruta trying to hook it all the way around the outside there at Tarzan, and I think he might well have it done now, Chaz. Yep, through he goes.
Great commitment that, but yeah, I was going to say, look at Crawford coming back at him, only just. Oh, but look at that, just in the blink of an eye, Cullen takes the advantage as well. Now, that is the worst thing Tsuruta could see. Cullen's had an easy ride of getting past Byron Crawford, where it cost Tsuruta so much time. Oh, that's going to be painful. That's a real bitter pill to swallow, that for Tsuruta. But, well, I'll tell you what, that was a blinder by Byron Crawford, you could say. Really great defensive work all the way through. And it was clean and respectful. You know, there was nothing dirty in it. Hats off to Tsuruta as well, because even with the frustration that he would have been feeling there at not being able to get through, he too didn't do anything above board. Or, sorry, anything that wasn't above board. That was really great racing between the pair of them. And this is how the move got done, Peter.
Well, Johnny Cullen has got a present 26 days early. Christmas Day for Johnny Cullen there with Tsuruta. Just, I mean, like you say, Byron Crawford put up a firm but fair defence there. And just the way it worked out with Crawford just lost a little bit of momentum, and Cullen spotted his opportunity and pounced. Wow, that was really impressive stuff there from Cullen. So opportunist. And now he has the opportunity to try and get a move done here on Tsuruta. You feel, Chaz, that this is a key moment in this championship. If Cullen can't get a move done on Tsuruta, you wonder if mentally the championship is really in Tsuruta's control. Conversely, if Cullen is able to make that move and basically make the next 2 weeks a whole lot longer for Tsuruta, waiting for those 2 endurance races to come.
Well, yeah, we'll have to wait and see, I suppose. But I think the pair of them could both, for the extra points that you get for winning a race, they will definitely have invested interest in taking a chase behind Mark Johnson here. Mark's still in the lead by 5.8 seconds at this moment in time. But Tsuruta and Cullen have gained 18 and 16 places respectively to get to where they are. Byron Crawford is now actually back to where he started. Rob Sharp, who we have in 5th place overall, has gained 10 places in this race. Let's not forget that. Rob Sharp didn't start at the top end of the order either. And also James Cummings has gained 11 places in this race too. Andrew Soper's having a pretty good one a bit further down. He's gained 8 spots up into 14th. But here is the gorgeous Aubrist racing machine of Rob Sharp. Like I said last time, he normally has a very metallic spec map on this car. It's very beautiful, but this time he's gone for just the glossy spec map, and it still looks just as fantastic. He continues to now chase down Byron Crawford in the hope of gaining those extra championship points. Still 6 minutes left to go here, though, Peter. And the guys at the front, well, actually, they've lost a bit of time to Mark Johnson. It was 5.8 seconds. It's now 6.
Yeah, I think they know that
Cullen's through.
There's no way. Yeah, oh, you're right, he is. You're absolutely right. Meanwhile, while Crawford and Sharp are sorting themselves out, Cullen and Saruta, having their battle for second place. I think they know that Johnson is up the road, so it's a gloves off battle then for Cullen and Saruta. Sharp does get through on Crawford for 4th position, but now this is where can he make the move back on Cullen? He won race 1, but losing to Cullen, that will sting a little bit for Saruta. So this is hugely important to the championship, the mental game here between these two tough competitors.
Yeah, Christian's going to do everything he can to chase him down once again and try and get back in front. He's got the Bogey King sticker on the roof of the car, looking absolutely beautiful as always. Interesting to note as well that Ryan Penny now has the lead in the AM class once again. He's got a car between himself and Alistair Hatcher as well. So Ryan is having a great evening to extend his championship lead in the AM class. Currently runs in 9th place overall in car 99. Greatorex back inside the top 10 despite a drive-through penalty. And Alistair Hatcher currently running in 11th place in car 964. Looks to me like Cullen is really on a mission here, Peter. It's amazing to think that at the end of the first couple of laps, Saruta was up to 7th place, and we had Cullen down in 13th or 14th, and Cullen has managed to catch up with him while going through the pack and then overtake him and start to disappear. I think that's even more of a mental game that he is winning over Christian Saruta right now. But, Christian may not be taking this to heart too much. He might just be thinking, look, it's 1 or 2 points difference here. I'm not going to let that ruin my day. I'm just going to still score points and keep a level head, because that's what you need to do to win championships, isn't it?
It is, but I think it will hurt to see Cullen pulling away as well. Saruta, he looked like he had the edge. He looked like they had the pace, and you thought, okay, it's just because he's got caught behind Byron Crawford, and Byron put up a very firm and fair defence, which slowed them both up a lot. But actually, it seems here that Cullen's got looking that little bit racier in this late stage of the race. So yeah, that won't be good. That will play on Saruta's mind. But you got to also think we're going to 2 very different circuits over the next for the final 2 rounds. Le Mans is really a unique case. Totally different circuit, and even when we go to Sebring as well. So the form book can be shaken up, again between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a different kettle of fish, different mindset going into the last 2 races. And let's not forget as well, it's not a sprint race evening where we'd have 4 races. If we had just these 2 race meetings, there are literally just 2 races left, and that's 2 point scoring opportunities, half of what we've had over the last 2 weeks of racing. And Saruta now just not quite able to stay with Cullen here, and Johnny's really been opening the taps. He's got that lead gap down to 4 seconds. Wow, look at that. He's suddenly gained a bucket load of time on Mark Johnson there. I think there's a bit of a concertina effect with the timing, though, because he suddenly lost about half a second again. So we'll keep our eye on where that gap sort of stabilises here, because I don't think Cullen's got enough in the tank to catch up and overtake Mark Johnson here. Mark might just be safe, but I think Saruta's next worry would be if Cullen has got the pace, and if Johnson starts to take it easy in these last couple of laps, will Cullen get that extra spot and a few extra championship points over Christian? You never know, do you?
Well, let's see. I mean, Mark Johnson, what a bounce back performance this is after spinning out of a strong position in race 1 and using that good grid position to full effect here in race 2, and to pull away from the field and to not panic and to really stay concentrated for such a prolonged period of time is really, really impressive. And it's just a minute and a half between Mark Johnson and a win here at Zandvoort in Season 7 of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing. Johnny Cullen now got it down to 3.5 seconds, but it's I think it's going to be just that little bit too late for the for Cullen to be able to get the win at this stage. I mean, Johnny Cullen, he's opened up a second over Christian Cerruta, so Cullen definitely got the edge of those two championship rivals for now. Now, question is here, Chaz, are we going to get an extra lap? Where about? Ooh, this is going to be. I don't think we are. You know, this could be us on the last lap.
Yeah, because it's what, 1:33 a lap, and they're about 30 seconds as they come out of that hairpin usually. Yeah, this is going to be mighty close, but I think that we will see the checkered flag fall. Mark Johnson will be very happy to see that, as the gap has now come down to 2.6 seconds. Johnny Cullen is in visual range now. He's got target lock, but he's not quite uncaged the missile at this moment in time. And Johnson, well, he's had a lot of rotten luck in previous rounds, but, you know, after the spin earlier on that he had with... Who was it involved? Was it also... No, it was Johnny Elia, wasn't it, he was involved with earlier on. He's kept it tidy here. We've got just 5 seconds left, so maybe not as close as we thought, but still, Mark Johnson round the final corner. This is going to be a very popular victory, I think.
It is. So that is the last lap, much to the delight of Mark Johnson, who is a winner in the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing here at Zandvoort. Johnny Cullen lands a counter blow in the championship chase ahead of Christian Cerruta then. So Cerruta got the honours in race 1. It's gone the way of Cullen here in race 2 in that championship chase. But what a story here. Ryan Penny, one of the stalwarts of the championship, came into this round leading the AM Championship, and he has stamped his authority on that championship with 2 class wins. He flashes the lights in delight, and well, it's Dutch delight for Ryan Penny.
Excellent job by Ryan all evening long. He did exactly what he needed to do, and when. Again, no dramas at all from him. There was a little bit of confusion at the start of the race that I think he got caught up in. There's a tiny bit of damage to the back of the car, but other than that, I'd say he's had an absolute barnstormer of a night, and he will be over the moon with that one as we head towards Le Mans for the penultimate round. Now, Ryan's pretty decent at the endurance rounds as well. He's good at keeping it all in check, so I think he's got to have a bit of a level head and not overly worry himself going into these last 2 races.
He's in a really strong position for certain. Mark Johnson then, your winner by just 1.7 seconds in the end. Cullen gave it his best in those last few laps to run it down, but Johnson the winner. But in the Pro Class Championship chase, Johnny Cullen scores a vital blow against Christian Cerruta by beating him to the flag there. Rob Sharp was 4th, and then Byron Crawford rounds out the top 5. James Cummings was 6th in the Flying Calippo. Then it was Stuart Clark, Stephen Kershaw, and Austin Greatorex. Good drive for Austin after that drive-through penalty early on in the race. He recovers to 9th, and as we mentioned, our AM class winner Ryan Penny extends his lead at the top of the AM class championship. Alistair Hatcher, once again, solid performance for him in class, 11th overall, 2nd in class. Johnny Elia, difficult night at the office for Johnny Elia, it must be said. He'll be looking to make amends at Le Mans in 2 weeks' time. Gilles Gardner, another class podium in 3rd once again. Then it was Andrew Soper, Danny Jones, Amrik Sashdev, Oliver Carwadine, Peter Brill, Drew Fletcher, and Alex Owen. You round out your top 20. And the last few, Paul Goffin and Christopher Hart were your last drivers on the lead lap, with Kim Such and Chris Byron finishing off the lead lap, and unfortunately Mark Elvin not making it to the checkered flag. Well, what an event here at Zandvoort today, and well, I think it's only fair we have a chat with our double AM class winner, Ryan Penny, who is down with Chaz Drake.
God, do so quick.
Ryan, welcome to the commentary box, my friend. You must be absolutely beaming with tonight's performances. 2 class wins, extending your championship lead with just 2 endurance races to go. That one must have meant a lot. Talk us through it.
Yeah, to be honest, you wouldn't believe it. I feel like Def warmed up, and I was 50-50 whether I was going to race tonight. So I'm glad I did.
Absolutely, I bet. I mean, obviously, hope you're feeling better soon, but I imagine that's a pretty serious ingredient to the remedy of whatever it may be, because when you've had a good night's racing, you do feel on top of the moon, don't you?
I feel knackered. I'm going to be honest. But no, the first couple of laps and in the second race were a bit hair-and-scaring with obviously Alistair just a few places in front of me, and I didn't want to lose too much time with the pros coming past. But yeah, had a good race with Alistair. He raced clean, so fair game to him.
And I was going to say, part of being so tired might be with how much of a roller coaster this circuit is. What's it been like trying to wrangle the Porsche around here tonight?
It's not been too bad, to be honest with you. The temperatures on the track quite cool, so you've got quite a bit of grip. I've been putting the practice in, which always helps.
I'll absolutely bet on that one, Ryan. Well, it's been a fantastic night for you and your championship charge. Are there any sort of final thoughts heading towards Le Mans in 2 weeks' time? Are you excited for that one?
Oh, yeah. I do like the endurance races, so we'll see how we get on at Le Mans.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed for you, Ryan. Well done again from everybody here, and we'll hopefully speak to you then.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Well, like I say, Peter, a perfect night from Ryan Penny's standards. You know, he's absolutely going to be in love with that 2 class wins. You can't do any better.
No, it's an ideal performance. It just shows you that practice does pay off. Well, before we get a chat with our race winner in race 2, let's speak to a man who had a tenacious drive through the field there to get some points back in that championship chase. Johnny Cullen now with our very own Chaz Draycott. Johnny, welcome to the commentary box, mate. You must be very pleased, one, to have got past Christian on the road in that one, but then pulled away from him. Peter and I were saying just how important that was for the mental battle going towards the end of the season. Yeah, that must make you feel pretty good.
Well, yeah. After the last minute dying seconds qualify from Christian, yeah, needed that. That was. Yeah, I needed a couple more minutes to chase down Mark, and that would have been the icing on the cake. But it was a fun race, a really fun race, all in all.
Well, I was going to say we were speculating on whether you would catch Mark or not, or how long you and Christian would end up battling. But it's not an easy circuit to sort of keep pushing more and more, is it, at Zandvoort? It's a very high-speed flowing circuit, but it invites you to make mistakes, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, especially if you're getting a bit over-enthusiastic chasing someone or going for the pass, then it's very, very easy, especially T1 locking up on T1, and then your tyres are off for T3. So yeah, it's a challenge, especially overtaking first race with Christian. Just fair play, couldn't get close enough to him.
Well, it's been a fantastic battle to watch all season long with you two. We've really been enjoying it so far. Is there going to be any change in mentality in the last 2 races? Is there endurance rather than sprint races?
I think there has to be, right? Because we're not different strategy. So it's playing the long game. Less emphasis on qualifying, more emphasis on the racecraft. I think is going to be key. But I don't know what the maths is. I think I have to win both on the bounce to win the championship, or is that not? It might already be out of reach by now.
To be honest, Johnny, maths has never been my strong point. I'm pretty sure at this point it's still alive, and it just depends on that. There has to be a bit of a swing in the other direction for it to go that way. But I mean, coming here, you know, there was only 8 points between the two of you anyway, and you finished 1 position apart in both races, so it's still incredibly close to the line. Are you going to be trying to do the maths on circuit once you've got it in your head, or will you just sort of ignore it and take it as it comes?
I'll probably work it out before the race.
I wouldn't blame you. It's best to know where you have to be, I suppose, in a championship fight, isn't it? So we look forward to seeing that one, Johnny. Just final thoughts though, Le Mans. What do you make of going there? Because you've had obviously the heartbreak of last season there.
Yeah.
And it might be a bit difficult this time around. What do you reckon?
I'm possibly controversially, I'm a massive fan of the event, and I love the history. Don't like racing the track.
That's fair.
So
That's fair.
I don't enjoy it so much. It's not my strongest track. I'll give it my best shot.
That's all you can do, Johnny. We look forward to seeing it, mate. Thanks very much for joining us, man. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, folks.
Cheers. Well, there you go, Peter. We often say, don't we, that it's usually the circuits you enjoy less that you go well at. Any circuit I love on iRacing, I'm absolutely terrible at. So, you never know. Hopefully for Johnny, it's the same thing.
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so. I mean, I did promise we were going to speak to our race 2 winner, but he's dashed off.
He's that quick.
The jacuzzi and the champagne and the other things are probably just too tempting than speaking to us. So there you have it. Well, in 2 weeks' time, folks, we will have the penultimate round of the championship for you here on RaceSpotTV. We go to Le Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans, for an endurance round, a pivotal round in this championship in both the Pro and the AM classes. Make sure to join us there, 8 o'clock in the UK, December the 13th. Pop it in your calendars, and then the final round of the championship will follow 1 week later, December the 20th at Sebring. 2 venues that have been so crucial in Porsche's rich racing heritage, and these virtual racers, I'm sure, want to play their part in that heritage over the next few weeks. From us all here from RaceSpotTV, thank you so much for watching, and good night.